I'm a professional wizard. That's right, I get paid to whiz. Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, hoping that you are having a great day. And in today's video, I'd like to sit back in my kind of squeaky chair, relax, and have a little conversation with all of you guys about trading card games and the secondary market and unrealistic expectations for pricings. Today we're talking about game pieces, or rather the idea that cards should not go above a specific arbitrary number set by random people on the internet. What a wonderful topic. And, you know, you see it more often when a particular card game, like Pokemon or One Piece or Magic for a split second, you see it more often when card games are in the spotlight, when there's a lot of hype and FOMO and bullishness on them. But in certain corners of the internet, in certain discussions, you'll see people bemoaning the fact that there is even a secondary market for their card game, because cards shouldn't even have a secondary, they shouldn't have a price tag. They shouldn't be worth more than some arbitrary number. 15 cents, $1, $5. They'll point to Richard Garfield, the creator of Magic the Gathering, in an interview forever ago, saying that he didn't think cards should be worth more than some low arbitrary dollar point. And a lot of the times this is just set out of frustration, you know. Hype and FOMO brings a lot of investor, collector, scalper attention to your card game, which makes sealed product unobtainable and unaffordable, which can raise the singles market exponentially to the point where even building a low-tier deck can be quite difficult. So I get it. I totally understand the frustration of not being able to play the game you love. But at the same time, it's important to understand that the secondary market and the value of cards is necessary for the survival of your TCGs, the survival of the games you love so much. And I'm not even going to say it's a necessary evil. It's just necessary. Because the secondary market is not evil. People making a profit off of the cards that you and they love to collect, buy, sell, and trade, it's not evil. I would argue that it's perhaps the best thing to happen to trading card games. Besides their inception, obviously. The existence of a secondary market is good for a card game, and a healthy secondary market is good for card games in general. But let's really break this down, okay? There is a pipeline, okay? Step A is the company itself. This pipeline from company to end consumer is hyper necessary for the continued health and existence of the card games out there. Does not matter what that card game is. Every card game follows this pipeline. All of them, 100%. Okay? There is no card game for which this chain of company to consumer does not exist. There is the company who produces a certain number of boxes based on distribution's previous sales. Distribution will allocate boxes to stores based on stores' previous purchases, and stores will do their purchases based on their end consumers' previous purchases to the best of their ability. You know, they will try to estimate how many boxes they'll need of a set based on the local scene, how much they sell online, etc. And those end consumers will decide how many boxes they want to purchase from a store based on a variety of factors. One of those factors being, will it be financially viable to open this product and sell some cards from it? Yes, the end consumer and their financial judgment is part of this great chain from the very tippy top game devs to the very tippy little teeny tiny bottom of the end consumer. Their financial judgment is part of this chain of decisions. They'll tell the store how many boxes they'd like to buy. The store will tell distribution how many boxes they'd like to buy, and distribution would tell the company how many boxes they would like to buy. It goes in a almost linear motion, but obviously there are some things that determine how many boxes goes from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, etc. You know, if there's no boxes available here, this guy's not getting as many as he wanted. If there's no boxes available here, this guy is not getting as many as he wanted. But you understand the basics. How many are desired from point A to point D are determined largely by point D's desire in some way, shape, or form. And one of the things that shapes point D's, the end consumer's desire, is, well, the perceived value of the product. Yes, there's loads of people out there who just want to crack boxes and play with the cards inside. Yes, that is undeniable. There's loads of people, in fact, you'll see them from time to time, who will crack open a box, just take a handful of cards that they like, and then they'll throw the rest in a bulk bin. I see that all the time. It's crazy. They'll never think about the secondary market prices ever. They will just see the shiny cards that they want to play with, and that's good enough for them. But the vast majority of people, whether consciously or subconsciously, they want their stuff to maintain some kind of value. Maybe not all of it. Maybe they're not expecting 100% returns on everything they purchase. But if they crack open a box of cards, they'd like there to be some value in there. And if there's perceived no value in there, they are less likely, not completely unlikely, but less likely to crack that box open. Because collectibles have perceived value, because they're collectible. There is inherently some demand to them. That demand, in some cases, creates what's the good term for it? Price equilibrium between buyer and seller on the secondary market. And here's where we get to the secondary market part of it. Because this guy bought a box and it has a card inside of it that this guy over here, end consumer, was point D. Point E is now this other guy over on the secondary market on the other side of the world who is willing to go on to TCG Player or eBay and purchase a card for some arbitrary number. Whatever factor decides it, there's loads of factors that go into deciding a card's value, from collectability, rarity, power level, artist, meme status, etc. There's loads of things that go into deciding how much a card is worth on the secondary market, but let's just say this guy over here on the other side of the planet now wants this card that this guy over here at the store purchased. He sells that card, gets his cash, and because he got some kickback from his sale, because the card he pulled got him some money back, he is now slightly more likely to make another purchase of a sealed product in the future. Boom, crazy how that works. If that was his first time, if it wasn't his first time, then he's probably got a bunch of calculations going in his head, looking at EV, the value of the box, all the cards inside, trying to figure out whether or not it's a good idea to crack that bad boy open, right? Based on the price of the box, the potential price of the stuff inside, etc. That stuff goes into consideration for a lot of people. Yes, like I said before, there are plenty of people who crack open boxes and will never care one bit about the secondary market value. But they are a small minority. The vast majority of people do have some care. Some, not a lot, but some care about the value of their cards because they'd like that value to be retained. And if they knew for a fact that their cards would have an arbitrary limit on the price tag that they could potentially get, whether it's 10 cents, $1, $5, $20, whatever arbitrary number these game piece types like to say online, if they knew for a fact that there was a cap on how much money their cards could be potentially worth, they would be much less likely to crack open a box for financial potential. Not completely unlikely, but less likely. And enough people being less likely to open a box or less likely to buy a box means that there is, there's a lot of loud cars going on right now. More people being less likely to buy boxes means less boxes are being sold from stores and consumers. Less boxes being sold at stores means less stores are buying from distribution. Less stores buying from distribution means less boxes distribution is ordering from the game company. And all of a sudden, you're seeing fewer boxes on the market in general because the game is slowly leaking value and slowly but surely draining away. Uh, and it's not just that. It's not that it's the death spiral of the game. Okay. The death spiral is something completely different. But having a maximum cap on the amount of people who are interested in your game, it won't kill your game. Not necessarily. But it will prevent growth. And it will put an upper limit on the amount of stores willing to carry your game, knowing that there's very little value to be had there. It does mean a lot of, I'd say a bit more inherently risky. If there's a maximum value cap for your game, then there is a maximum amount of mistakes you could ever possibly make, a maximum amount of terribly bad sets you could put out. And there also means a maximum price tag that your boxes can have on the secondary market down the road. You know, let's look at a dead card game. Okay, this is Mega Man. This is Power Up, the first box of the Mega Man TCG. This box is 20, 30 bucks, something like that. Very cheap. Okay, the cards inside not worth a whole lot either. The cards inside are not worth very little because some arbitrary limit has been set to them. They're worth so little because it is an out-of-print TCG that only a handful of people comparatively play globally. It has its fans. It has some really cool fans. I love those guys. But the amount of people willing to crack open a box of Mega Man in comparison to the amount of people who are interested in cracking open a box of, I don't know, Final Fantasy, Spider-Man even, in comparison to Mega Man, is huge. And you can look at the box prices to tell you that I'm speaking the truth. Less people willing to open up your box, for whatever reason, means less likely that that box is going to be desirable down the road. Again, whatever the reason is, perceived value is just one of many reasons, but you get what I'm saying. A dead TCG can also be a part of a reason. Few people are willing to open Mega Man because it's a dead TCG. If it were a lot, few people are willing to open. I gotta get two examples side by side. These are two $30 boxes maximum. One is $30 because it's a dead TCG played by very few people. One is $30 because it's a terrible set where very few people are willing to open it because the perceived value inside is so very low. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is very much a living TCG played by thousands of people globally. But because the perceived value within those boxes is so low, very few people are willing to buy those boxes at MSRP, and stores take a loss. And as stores take a loss, they are less likely to buy more Yu-Gi-Oh! Product in the future. And because they are less likely to buy Yu-Gi-Oh! Product in the future, the game shrinks slightly every quarter. It's less likely to grow, less likely to see exponential player explosion. That could change, by the way. This is a prior example. This is like a year plus old set. You know, that will change. But if it doesn't change, if there was never any more perceived value in Yu-Gi-Oh! Sets, then that chain of declining value would continue. Before anyone says anything, yes, I'm aware of the hype going into Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. I'm not saying Yu-Gi-Oh! Is dying. I'm saying that there is... I'm saying that there's a reason Ancient Guardians is not selling for a lot of money. Okay? Just before anyone says anything. I understand, at the end of the day, why you would want your game to be cheap and easy to get hold of and affordable. But, at the end of the day, it is important that you recognize that secondary markets and value exist for a reason. And it's not a bad reason. Money makes the world go round, like it or not. And it is important that you understand that if you want the game you love to continue existing, that money needs to flow into it. Yes, I do think it's extreme when scalpers are getting into fights in Kmart parking lots over a Pokemon ETB. I do think that is silly. I think it is absolutely silly that boxes are selling for almost double their MSRP right out the gate at launch. But I also think it's silly, once again, I also think it's silly that a box can come out and lose 50 or more percent of its value after opening weekend. There are two levels of extreme to this dynamic, and it's important that, I think, it's important that balance is found and that a healthy and flowing secondary market is achieved for every TCG out there. But that's just my opinion. And I have rambled a bit too long on this subject, so I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you agree with me or disagree with me. I always read you guys' comments, and I enjoy the attention it brings to the channel. Besides that, check out the Patreon, check out the Discord. Thank you so very much for your time, and I will see you guys in the next video.